For some more analysis on this new French government, I'm joined here in the studio by Richard Vallée. He is France and Europe correspondent for the Swiss daily newspaper Blick. Richard, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Here today. Let's start with Elisabeth Borne, who we just saw there, heading up the education ministry. She talked up education reform quite a bit when she was prime minister, but she actually oversaw some measures that were really heavily opposed by teachers, the pension reform in particular. The 2025 budget that Barnier tried to get passed, I believe, called for 4,000 job cuts among teachers. What's your take on Borne as education minister?
Well, I believe what's important is what François Bayrou, the prime minister, said on television right after the nomination of the new government. He said that National Education Nationale, the education ministry, was the foremost important ministry. So he is himself a former education minister, and he has definitely put a very big importance on that ministry. And he chose for this ministry someone who is, I would say, the opposite of the lady she's replacing. Anne Gente was a lightweight. She was an MP from the French living overseas in Asia. She had no clue whatsoever of the French state and the French apparatus. Elisabeth Borne is not an expert in education, she acknowledged, but she knows perfectly how it works. And when it comes to going to Bercy, the finance ministry, and getting money, she might be in much better position than her predecessor.
Do you think the Macron government will be inclined at this moment to give her what she asks for? I mean, it seems like the administration of Macron, certain of his previous education ministers have come under some heavy fire for their own management of the ministry.
Well, first of all, it's very interesting that you talk about Macron government. It's Bayrou government, and the big challenge for Bayrou will be to exist by himself. Now, coming to the financial terms, we know it. I mean, there is no money available. France is in a dire straits, budgetary speaking, and there has to be some cuts, either cuts in public spending or raising taxes. But within that limit, so it will be a matter for each ministry to defend its piece of cake. And Elisabeth Borne, on that regard, is very well equipped. She knows everybody. She's been a prime minister between 2022-2023. So she has the leverage that probably the education ministry needs.
All right, let's move on for a minute here. Meanwhile, the head of France's centre-left Socialist Party is denouncing what it says is a betrayal by Prime Minister François Bayrou. The Socialists say they had three conditions for the Prime Minister in order to ensure that they would not support a new motion of no confidence against him. Let's take a listen to Socialist Party leader Olivier Faure on that.
I'll say it directly about a vote of no confidence. Not one of the conditions has been met by François Bayrou. I remind you, no depending on the far right, no more pushing through policies with the 49.3 article, and a change of political course. I've heard nothing about any of this.
So, Richard Vallée, François Bayrou, in the run-up to forming this government, had been hoping to garner some support from the more centrists of the Socialists to support his government. How do you think that's worked out for him?
Well, for the Socialists, clearly it's a disappointment. It's even a slap in the face. They went to see Bayrou. They went to negotiate with Bayrou. They took the risk of dissociating themselves from the Nouveau Front Populaire, their electoral alliance with Jean-Luc Mélenchon, La France Insoumise, France Unbound. And at the end of the day, who is the foremost, let's say, ex-socialist figure of the government? Manuel Valls, a former prime minister who is despised within the rank of the Socialist Party. So clearly a slap in the face. I believe the socialists are partly responsible because they never said clearly, we are ready to participate. What they wanted is to negotiate a deal where they would not vote for the no confidence motion, but in return they would have some promises from the government. Bayrou did not make any promises except one. He said that he will not go for the famous 49.3 article of the Constitution. You can pass a law without vote. He said he will exert that very carefully and only if he is forced to for budgetary reason. But that's not enough for the socialists. They will probably vote the no confidence motion.
All right, let's move on to another heavy hitter in this new government. We've got Gérald Darmanin, now Minister of Justice. He was Minister of the Interior under a previous Macron government, famously seen as a fairly hardline, fairly right-wing member of that cabinet. He is now taking the reins at his own ministerial handover in Paris. Let's take a listen to what Darmanin had to say at that ceremony.
Comprehension of our citizens who are seeing daily acts of violence ruin their lives and cause doubt in our democracy. In the next few days, the prosecutors, whose role I know is vital and essential, will receive general instructions of clear and firm policies of the penal code to prosecute systematically those who have done violence to people, to women and children, against Islamist separatism and violent extremists who wish to attack our democracy and our republic, against drug banditry and drugs trafficking, which will be the top priority of my term at the Justice Ministry.
Now, famously, there was some drama in the run-up to this nomination as well. There was Xavier Bertrand, who had been floated as a potential justice minister. He's, must say, a nemesis of the far-right National Rally Party. Now we have Darmanin in there. Is he doing sort of a double duty? Is he placating the far right? Is he perhaps also outflanking the far right in his hardline status? What do you think is?
Well, it's very interesting, but maybe a bit difficult to understand for those who are not familiar with French politics. On the one hand, Xavier Bertrand and Gérald Darmanin are close friends. They come originally from the same conservative party, Nicolas Sarkozy party, Les Républicains. And Xavier Bertrand was indeed proposed the justice ministry by François Bayrou. The difference between the two is that Xavier Bertrand has always been very much an opponent of the National Rally, Marine Le Pen party, because Marine Le Pen party has a stronghold in the northern region of France. Darmanin doesn't have the same attitude. He's always been confronting the party of Marine Le Pen, but adopting the same policy or taking policies that are close to what the National Rally want. Now, what is I would say, what is the situation now? You have Gérald Darmanin, who keep in mind, Marine Le Pen, the National Rally leader, she's on trial for having used money from the European Parliament. And the result, the judgment will come on March 31st. Darmanin said that he is against making her ineligible. He said clearly that what the judge wants is not proper. Marine Le Pen should be able to run as the candidate in a democracy. So see, what will the judge think now that they have a justice minister like Darmanin? That's an important point. I'm not saying that he's going to interfere. He promised he will not. But still, in the air, the magistrate may think that. Second thing for Darmanin, he is a former interior minister. He's been 4 years interior minister. And now he's going to work hand in hand with his successor, Bruno Retailleau, for a very repressive agenda, especially on two fronts, drug trafficking, and illegal immigration. So we have a justice ministry now which is going to, let's say, stick to the interior ministry, because very often you listen to policemen saying that we bring people to jail but nothing happened afterwards. Mm-hmm. That's what Darmanin is going to try to match, because security concerns are very high in the rating of problems by the French people.
All right. Well, you were talking there a bit about Marine Le Pen. Let's talk about her a little bit more here. In the run-up to the announcement of this government, Le Pen and the National Rally said that they were keeping an open mind about Bayrou's government. The latest from Le Pen is that she says this new government's days are numbered, and is even predicting an early presidential election.
Well, again, you've got to look at the arithmetic in the present French National Assembly. If the National Rally, extreme right, vote with the coalition of the left, with all the party of the left, then the government is down. That's what happened for Michel Barnier on the 5th of December. Is Marine Le Pen ready to repeat that? That is clearly possible. What does the left want? Mr. Mélenchon, the radical left, already said that he's going to put up a no-confidence motion. So there is a bit of suspense. Now, why should Marine Le Pen not take down this government? Only one reason. She doesn't want to be seen as being responsible for instability, because her electorate, the electorate of the extreme right, doesn't like instability. They want stability, they want order, they want security. So that's the difficulty for her. So I believe what she will try to have is to find a crisis moment, like she did with Barnier. The crisis moment was about the budget. She said the budget was not acceptable, then she took down the government. Now let's see what will the crisis be with Bayrou, another crisis on budget or on something else, but she needs a crisis to justify the fact that she should take this government down.
All right, stability likely to be in short supply, it seems, in the French political scene in the coming years. Richard Verly, France-Europe correspondent for Swiss Daily Blick, thank you so much for that analysis. Great to see you as always.